So in this video, I'll be going through this dataset which I found on Kaggle. It contains pretty much the top chess players in the world, along with their ranking, rating, federation, or you can just say country, and of course the titles. For instance, here GM stands for Grandmaster. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'll start by creating a new Kaggle notebook. I'll just go up here. So it usually doesn't take a lot of time to load, and actually I prefer importing the packages when I need them, so I'll just simply delete these libraries for now. And also I will take out these comments because we don't need them. And I want to keep these lines of code. So what this code does, it will search the files in my project here. So for now it's empty, as you can see. I don't have any dataset or any files of any sort. So if I run this code cell, nothing is supposed to happen. Okay, so now we will import the top chess players data. I already have it here on top because it is my last viewed data, but if you don't see it, just write the data's name and it will show up in your list. Great, so now our data is here. So if I run this cell again, it will give you the path of the CSV file of the imported data. Perfect, now let's import this data using pandas. So I'll start by importing pandas library. I will also create a variable called data, which will hold the entire data set, and I can just call it directly then. Good, so the first step is done. We imported our dataset. Now we will just go through it and see if it needs any cleaning or any sorting before feeding it to a machine learning or just for visualization. So I'll start by checking the number of rows and columns. To have a better view at the data, we can just call the first rows. Here I'll just call the first 5. Okay, we have title, player, rating, ranking, and federation. But this is problematic here because rating and ranking are both combined in one column, which is not ideal. So what I'm gonna do is I'll separate them. I'm gonna use a delimiter method which will separate these columns based on the bar between them. This will create 2 extra columns, one for rating and the other is for ranking, so we can get rid of the column that combines them both. And also, as you can see here, ranking is actually the index plus 1, and it also includes a hashtag sign, which can be an issue for some cases. So I'll just change the ranking column by assigning it to the number of the index and just increase it by 1. So now if we view this, as you can see, the data is more organized, the table is more clean. Now with the rating and the ranking both separated and without any useless signs as before. So if we check the data size, as you can see here we have 5 columns now. I also want to check if there is any missing data, so I'm just gonna use the isNull function and just check the sum. So this is not good. In the title column there are 9 missing values, and the rating there are like 24 missing values. So I'll just start by filling in the missing titles. I'm gonna start by checking how many features the title column has. So I just called it and then I called the value count function. Alright, seems like we have a lot of grandmasters in our data. So the next thing I want to do is to check the ranking of the players with missing titles, because I'll be needing them later. For now, I'm gonna visualize the ranking and the rating and see if there is any relationship between them. So okay, so this is a very basic plot and there appear to be grandmasters throughout all the ranks. However, as we move right, titles seem to be more varied, as you can see. I think this is very simple to fill the missing data, so I'm just gonna use the backfill method. So what this does is it basically replaces the missing values with the next valid value. Okay, so it seems like the backfill method works perfectly in this scenario. Okay, so now if we go back up, as you can see, the rating column has some missing values. So I'm gonna copy this variable and I will just replace title by rating. So after visualizing the ranking and the rating, I found it just like a logarithmic function. So here I already wrote the code. I used the KNN algorithm. So what I did is I split the data test and train. Then I trained the model with the K-neighbors regressor. I imported it from the scikit-learn library with k set to 2. So it will check the nearest values, and based on those 2 values, it will fill the missing data. So let me just check if the values are actually filled. And I'm gonna use the code above here, and I will just copy it and then I will paste it in my cell below. As you can see, we no longer have missing data, it's set to 0. So we can also type data.info, and as you can tell, the features have the same value, which means there are no missing data at all. After visualizing it, I realized that in some cases the dots don't fit in perfectly, which is normal because k is set to 2, so it's gonna consider the nearest 2 points and predict where it will be placed based on those 2 dots. So instead I'm gonna set it to 1 and see what's gonna happen. Okay, so I think this is more convincing now. I should have used the backfill method, but I wanted to try something different. For the last step, I visualized the data to have a better understanding, and seems like Russia has the highest number of pro chess players. It also has the bigger number of master players, which is the highest rank, or the highest title you can say. But it is obvious because their overall number is higher than the rest. Okay, so I think I'm gonna stop here. This was my workflow while working on the top chess players dataset. I can obviously do more analyses, but I think that's it for the video today. You can find my final notebook on Kaggle with all the necessary comments. Thank you for watching and see you in the next project.